Hey guys, today we're going to be making Russian borscht. In case you don't know what Russian borscht is, it's a pretty famous soup and this is what it looks like. Just a small preview for you. Okay, so this is what we're going to need. We're going to need cabbage, beetroots, carrots, potatoes, onion, and a nice chunk of beef. In my case, I used a couple of pounds of top round. I think it's top round, but it doesn't matter. You can use any kind of beef because it's going to be really slow cooked and it's going to become very tender and nice. A couple of things I wanted to address before we begin. First, I'm making a lot. There's a lot of soup because I have a lot of people who eat and I have a large family. So most likely you will not need this much, so you probably want to cut your ingredients in two, or maybe cut it down to a third of what you see on my table. Number two, I cook borscht differently than you will see other people on the internet suggest that the borscht needs to be cooked. And my way has evolved out of cooking it many times, and each time I've improved the process to make it a better tasting, more flavorful, and just overall more satisfying experience of this amazing dish. I tried the traditional way. I started with traditional way of preparing borscht, and then eventually and over time I've kind of shifted over to doing it my own way because I found it, for my personal taste obviously, to be better, and anybody who has tried it have never complained. So now that we got all this out of the way, let's cook. There is not really a specific way that you want to cut the veggies, but I prefer to cut it, like as you can see in this example, in about half an inch, kind of chunks, because it just cooks evenly. And I don't know, it's just how I prefer it. And if you want to do it that way, that's fine. If you want to cut it in larger pieces or in smaller pieces, that's fine too. It's just a matter of how fast it'll cook or how slow it'll cook. My way of cooking borscht is slow cooking, kind of, so the larger chunks, like a half an inch chunks, it works because sitting on in the hot water in boiling water for a couple of hours, things like potatoes and cabbage and whatnot, the stuff might just fall apart. And when it's in larger chunks, obviously it's going to stay in place. That's about it. So just do your cutting, prepare your veggies. As you can see, I've made too much and it didn't fit into the bucket, so I'm just gonna put it in a larger bucket and mix it up. So the bottom line is, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the specifics and details, and don't focus too much on every little aspect of it, but just kind of like go at it, go cook, make mistakes, taste it, throw it away, do it again, until you get it right. I'm just giving you an example and sort of a guideline. It's not even a what you call it, the recipe. It's just a guideline of how to do it, and I'm just showing you an alternative way. So as you can see here, I cut the meat in this chunks of about 1.5 inches or so in size. We want to cut out all this fat here. Who wants to eat boiled fat? Boiled fat tastes disgusting, so I'm just trying to get it out of there and just enjoying the gorgeousness of this meat. Look at those chunks of meat; they're just so nice. It's just amazing. So when I was cutting it, I kind of felt bad because I was thinking, you know what, you would have probably made a decent steak, but whatever. I just really wanted to make that soup. If not a steak, then at least like a nice, whatever, roast. But it is what it is. We made soup with it, so it's all good. Anyway, yeah, so we're just gonna season the meat, and to season the meat I'm using that salt and pepper and a black pepper, salt and black pepper, and the salt. Really want to season it liberally because stuff that I'm going to do to this meat later on, requires that, at least some of the seasoning actually sticks to it. So yeah, let's just put a lot of pepper and salt on it and make sure that it's mixed in well. We also want to season the broth. We want to make sure that it's salty enough because veggies, they absorb everything, and it's just like there's a lot of water, so like this is a big pot, so it requires a lot of seasoning. Now we're gonna heat up canola oil, and we're gonna put about like probably half an inch to a little bit 3/4 of an inch deep. So basically, we're doing it because we're going to fry, shallow fry, so to speak, it's called, right? Shallow fry the meat in order to sear it. So we want to get this oil really hot, and I'm kind of using a little chunk of that fat or meat as an indicator that the oil is hot enough. But as you can notice in this particular scene, the oil wasn't hot enough, so it took quite a while for the meat to actually start browning. Right now it's like on 1,000 times whatever, like 10 times the speed of regular video, so it doesn't seem like it's been a long time, but it took quite a while. So once I've taken this lot of meat out, and let's just watch me take it out, and it looks really nice. I went to, I left the oil alone, and I went to do some other stuff like mixing the broth and this and that, so that the oil actually had ample time to get really hot. And I got it to the point where it was like borderline smoking, and just in a second you'll be able to see. Yeah, I got it to the point where it was borderline smoking, and now you can immediately see the difference. When you put the meat in there, it's like it sears it right away. And then you flip it, and it just, like the difference is immeasurable. So yeah, that's the lesson learned for you guys, because I don't do it often, so I kind of forget. But that's the lesson learned for you and for me as well, that that the oil needs to get really hot, and the indicator is not just a boiling little piece of fat in the oil, but it's actually needs to be to the point where it's almost smoking. And this batch came out beautiful. So we're gonna put this into our broth. Oh, look at those! Look at those! Oh, just the color of it. You can only imagine how it smells. And just like reviewing this footage and recording this audio right now makes my mouth water. It's just amazing. This soup is so ridiculously good. I love it. Alright, so we're going to mix it up. We always mix, and like at this point we're going to cut and clean up and prepare our garlic. So as you can see, I'm breaking the garlic, the paper on the skin of the garlic by smacking it with the cleaver, and then it's very easy to clean after that. So you just kind of take it off. I'm using all of it, like basically the entire head. I mean, there is a lot of soup, so we need a lot of garlic. And now I'm gonna go back and check on the soup and mix it up, because we want to make sure that nothing gets stuck to the bottom, and like everything just kind of stays nice and cooking. And I'm gonna add some avocado oil on the pan, and we want to get that hot too, so I'm gonna start it up. And you can see the pan is actually hot, but I kind of cranked up the heat, and I'm going to cut up the garlic. And just give it a couple of passes like that, and dice it up, and then we're going to throw it into the pan and let it fry. And then it just instantly, you can see how it just practically melts in that hot oil. Beautiful, beautiful. The smell, the flavor of it is just so amazing. It's just, oh. So now we're gonna put the garlic in our broth, into our soup, right in there with the oil and everything, because that oil contains most of the flavor at this point, and it's amazing. And we mix. And now it's the time when we start really adjusting the flavor and the taste, and and the whole experience of the soup. I don't even know the word to describe what we're trying to accomplish here, but we really want to bring the taste of this soup to par at this point. So you see, add whatever salt you need to add. You just keep on adding it. Don't just go and dump a bunch of salt in there, and just like add a little, mix it up, taste it, add a little, mix it up, taste it. Now we're gonna add vinegar. Why do I add vinegar? And I'm using like half a cup because I have a really big bowl. I'm using half a cup at a time. So I'm adding the vinegar, mixing it up, and then I'm gonna taste it. And then I'm gonna add more vinegar, and I'm doing it, I'm gonna bring it to the point where, okay, the reason I'm doing it to start with, the reason I add vinegar, first of all, I like the flavor, and second, you know, like the some of the variations of Russian borscht, and some of my favorite variations of Russian borscht are based on actually fermented cabbage. So when a cabbage is fermented and you put it and you cook it in the borscht, it gives the borscht that sour kind of, after fermentation, that flavor as if it's actually cooked in the juice of the fermented cabbage. It's just so amazing. It tastes so good. It's very difficult to describe unless you've tried it. So the way the adding vinegar into borscht brings it and kind of mimics that flavor. If you've ever tasted fermented, borscht made out of fermented cabbage and fermented vegetables, you will find that it is very, very similar and very close in flavor. And so this is the reason I add vinegar to it. Plus, it also helps break down the meat and cook meat faster, because when you have chunks of meat like that, and especially if it's the tough kind of meat, this is not a very tough, cut. But when you have if you're using like an eye round or something, like something that is really, really tough, it takes a very long time to cook that meat before it becomes, soft and starts breaking apart. Yeah, so vinegar helps speed up that process a little bit, and the amazing flavor of it. So we're adding all kinds of different flavors. We're adding, I've added bay leaf, as you can see, and I'm adding a bunch, like a good handful of fresh thyme, diced fresh thyme, because the flavor that it brings is just amazing. And you always add a little salt, and you just keep adding it until you find that flavor that really strikes your fancy. I also add tomato paste. It could be tomato paste, it could be ketchup, it could be just, you could make your own tomato sauce. Tomato is necessary to compensate for the sourness of the vinegar, and it adds that sweetness and that kind of volume to the taste and the flavor of the soup. I personally like to add a little zing to my soup, so I add some hot sauce. Doesn't matter which hot sauce, it's up exactly to you, like specifically to your taste. So it doesn't have to be what I added, which is the sriracha, but or you don't even have to put it in. It's up to you. I just like it that way. At this point, the soup is ready. It was cooking for approximately 2 hours, I would say. And I'm just gonna give it the final mix and show you what it looks like. And as you can see, the color has basically embedded itself into all the vegetables, and the soup by itself it's almost, the word radiant comes to mind. It's like as if it radiates this warmth and flavor. It has this amazing texture. It's so soft and delicious, and it's just the smell of it. Oh, there is just, I can't even begin to describe it. All right, it's time to serve. So let's make a plate. The borscht is usually served hot, and the funny thing is that obviously I'm hungry and I wanted to eat it right away. But the interesting thing about the borscht is that it's actually better the next day than it is the day when it was cooked. It's a negligible, well, it's not a negligible, it's actually a really, really true statement. But like when you spend like hours and hours cooking, looking at this stuff, you just want to eat it, and everybody in the family, they're just waiting for it. So yeah, there is no waiting for, until tomorrow. But in a nutshell, if you have the patience, if you cook this thing and then let it sit there in the refrigerator and then serve it the next day, reheat it and serve it the next day, it's amazing. But yeah, basically the borscht is served with a spoon of sour cream because it just kind of like enriches it and it cools it down and it gives it this amazing creamy flavor. And at this point, I'm just pretty much going to stop talking and let you just enjoy the show because this is the most beautiful part of this whole entire episode. Thank you guys. Watch. All right, thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did. Follow me on social media. I've updated the links on my channel page, and I guess I'll see you in the next episode. Happy cooking and have a fantastic day, guys. Thanks again.